You're listening to the Packernet Podcast Network.
What's going on, U.S. Cellular customers? I've got good news, so don't hit skip, at least not yet. I'm talking about their special customer event, Us Days. What is Us Days? It means exclusive offers just for their customers, just to say thanks, like $1,200 off any phone, plus $300 off any tablet. No, I didn't just misread that. They must really like you. Us Days at U.S. Cellular, exclusive offers just for you, just to say thank you. Right now, U.S. Cellular customers get $1,200 off any phone, plus $300 off any tablet. Terms apply.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Packernet Podcast. I am your host and resident panelist, as always, Ryan Schlipp. Check us out online, packernet.com. Find me on Twitter, pack_netav. So, first of all, I just wanted to mention, it's one of those things where you know something's coming, but it just always feels like it's a month away, and then it's like, are you packed? It's like, what are you talking about? Like, we're leaving in 2 days. Like, oh, my good Lord, I had no idea. I'm not prepared. I don't know what prepared even means, but it's like that feels too soon. We are going to be heading down to Indiana to visit the parents. Going to go check out Fertile Ground Ranch Discipleship Ministry for a few days. They've got some animals and whatnot on the property, so the kids will be very excited to obviously see Grandma and Grandpa, but also go to the farm, play with the animals, that kind of stuff. So that should be fun. I bring it up primarily because I don't know if there's going to be any podcasts. Part of the problem is the laptop I have, not super conducive. I bought a Chromebook because my other laptop got lost by somebody. But I was like, you know what? I just need like internet and stuff, so it's fine. I'll just go into those stupid cheap Chrome dealies, and that'll be fine. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if I can, what I can do, and I will do my best to get you something. But I may just be AWOL for a handful of days. What did my wife say? The 5th or something? So that would be, Wednesday. Hopefully get to go to Fogo, though. Get to hit them up. We'll see if they even remember me. They might just ghost me and be like, I don't know what you're talking about, stupid. I'm not giving you nothing. Yeah, I just wanted to give you a heads up, just so if everybody's wondering, I'm not dead. I'm just on a little mini vacation, that's all. But all right, where to begin? I do have to laugh a little bit. The Justin Fields situation, I mean, it's honestly a little bit sad for Fields. There was talk that, there could have been such a better situation, but he really wanted to go to Pitt. All this nonsense about like, there could have been higher compensation, but the Bears are trying to do right by Fields and send him to a great, stupid. So we heard the comments. I don't even remember who it was on the Steelers, but somebody was commenting about how good of a kick returner Justin Fields would be. And not only that, the fact that they've heard coaches specifically say that there's talks about that. Now, that was quite a while ago. This is an article on May 2nd, 2024, and it was written at 10 a.m., so it's probably May 1st, so a month ago. Jaylen Warren, Steelers special teams coach, has discussed Justin Fields returning kicks. Now, this is obviously a smack in the face to everybody that I am okay with. To be it's a really bad habit. I spend so much time attacking Justin Fields, I have to remember I'm on his side now. I forget. But still, this is such an unbelievable smack in the face to everybody that shoved Justin Fields down my throat for so long, including Packer fans. Oh, no, he's really good. Oh, no, he's really good. Quote was, I think it's pretty cool. As soon as you touch the ball, that's when everything starts to happen, Warren said. Our special teams coordinator was talking about Justin Fields being back there. We looked at him like Justin Fields would be back there. I think it's cool. That was a month ago. A month later, we get this from Fox Sports. Steelers quarterback Justin Fields shuts down kick return rumor. Quote, "I'm not here to do that." Elaborating further on that, Fields said, "Nah, I think everybody kind of interpreted it wrong. Coach Danny Smith was just basically trying to send a message that no matter who you are, you could be on special teams. He just used that as an example." He goes on to say, "It's funny how serious social media takes everything. It was kind of funny to me when everybody was making a big deal out of it for no reason." Bro, it was your teammate that made a big deal out of it. And your teammate specifically said everybody was thinking, whoa, Justin Fields is going to be doing that? That's crazy. And then he told the media that, and that's where that's why it's not social media. It was your teammate explicitly saying your coach talked about you being a special teamer, a kick returner. He goes on to say, "I'm definitely competing. Russ knows that. We're competing against each other every day. I definitely don't have the mindset of me just sitting all year. I'm coming in here every day, giving it all I've got, pushing him to be his best, and he's pushing me to be my best every single day." So he's trying so hard to convince everybody that this is a real competition. And it's honestly really sad because it's not. You've got special teams coordinators talking about him taking kickoffs. You don't have a single national media person talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers and Justin Fields. Nobody. Everybody knows who the starting quarterback is and will be. So according to Fields, right, it's like, I'm in here. This is a very tight competition right now between me and Russell Wilson. Like it's a toss-up, and I'm really pushing him, and he's pushing me, and I'm out there killing it. And it's like, he might return kicks. It's like, no, that was a joke. Somebody said that. He's messing around. That's not, nobody believes that. That's, don't worry about it. No, me and Russ, man, we're battling. Now, to be clear, I can't confirm that this is a real thing. This might be entirely fake. However, there are tweets circulating. I found several. Not that any of them are they're probably just copying each other. But here's what one of them says. Quarterback Russell Wilson thinks Justin Fields could be very dangerous in a, quote, non-quarterback role. So, anyways, it's just a sad situation, honestly. But speaking of quasi-Bears news, the Bears did get some positive news. First of all, Caleb sounds like is obviously doing much better in OTAs. That was bound to happen. You're not going to miss every single pass. So I'll say that just because I've been picking on him for so long over something stupid. But the bigger thing is that they will be hosting Hard Knocks this season. Now, a couple things. First of all, this is the only choice. I mean, this is the right choice. This is what I would do, and to be honest, this is the one I would prefer to watch if I had to choose. I think it is interesting and exciting. I mean, this is Caleb Williams, I mean, you want to go, you want to follow the Jets with Rodgers, you want to go with Caleb Williams or, Trevor Lawrence or whoever like the cool, exciting thing is, there's always something. And I don't think there's probably I can't think of a better option than Chicago right now. Now, does that mean that the unnecessary hype for Chicago is going to go from a 10 to a 20? Yes. By the time Hard Knocks gets released and people start watching it, you're going to hear talks of the Bears could win the North. And you're even going to hear Packer fans panicking like, man, they look really good. I don't know, I'm kind of nervous. Because it's a production, and that's what they do, and they make everybody look good. But I was kind of thinking about it, and I was wondering, obviously we talk a lot about Hard Knocks and how there's too much hype and all that kind of stuff, but I wanted to kind of look into it. So I went back and looked at all the teams that were on Hard Knocks, the season that they had, and then the prior year's record to see, improve, didn't improve, whatever. But I think more than that, what I'm curious about is whether they met, exceeded, or fell short of expectations, right? So, for example, the Cleveland Browns were 0-16. They went 7-8-1 the next year. Now, that's a massive improvement. That's also expected. Nobody expects a team that goes 0-16 to go 0-16 again. Likewise, when the Raiders go 4-12, you don't expect them to stay at 4 wins. There's sort of a regression to the mean thing, even for bad teams. There's kind of a minimum number that you expect a team to get to. But the question is, was there so much hype that people looked at it and, were they realistic? Did they say maybe 7 wins? Did they say 9 wins? Just kind of going through that way. Long story short, I don't know that I can't find a lot of evidence that people overhype these teams. I think there is a lot of hype, there's a lot of talk, but when you get down to it, for example, for the Raiders, I found somebody that said Antonio Brown will get 1,500 receiving yards in 2019. He got 56. Derek Carr will throw 30 touchdowns. He had 21. But at the end of the article, he said that the Raiders would be no better than 500, which is true. They went 7-9. But again, it's not like there weren't these massive expectations about how great the team was going to be. If you look at the Lions, which is a main example, right? The Lions were 3-13-1 and were the darlings of everybody. They're going to be so great. Well, in reality, they were 9-8. What were some of the things that were said about them? Well, if we look at clickondetroit.com, so a local place, you would expect some bias there. They go through the record, and they predict two different writers predicted Ken 8-9, Derek 6-11. Both of them were underestimating the Lions. If you look at USA Today, Lions record prediction for 2022. Nate Davis of USA Today had them at 8-9. Detroit Free Press, Detroit Lions 2022 season predictions, writers split on how big of a jump they take. Carlos Menarez says 6-11. Jeff Seidel 7-10. Sean Windsor 9-8. So the highest prediction I've seen so far is the correct one. In fact, Vegas had the Lions at 6.5 wins. SB Nation's Pride of Detroit, which is obviously the Lions website for SB Nation. Jerry Mallory 7-10, no playoffs. Hamza something 7-10. Ryan Matthews 9-8. John Whitaker 6-11. Chris Perfett 6-11. Eric Schlitt 9-8. Mike Payton 10-7. Morgan Cannon 7-10. Jeremy Reisman 8-9. Only one person, Mike Payton, overestimated the Lions, and it was by one game. You look at last year in the Jets. Obviously, this doesn't really count because Aaron Rodgers was injured, but it's really not hard to imagine that the team without Aaron Rodgers, basically with no quarterback, was 7-10. So anybody talking about the Jets going to the playoffs, being successful or whatever, I mean, I don't want to say it's a certainty, but give me a break. What do they need, 2 or 3 more wins? The year before the Lions, by the way, Detroit went from 6-10 to 12-5. Rams and Chargers in 2020 both improved their records. Cleveland, as I said, going all the way back to 2018, went from 0-16 to 7-8-1. The last time a team actually regressed after Hard Knocks was Tampa Bay in 2017, went from 9-7 to 5-11. So, look, again, they're going to be the talk of the town. There's going to be a lot of hype. There's going to be all this stuff. But at the end of the day, the Bears are very likely to improve their record, whether that be by, 1 or 2 games or 5 games. I don't know. But bottom line is, it wasn't really what I expected. I expected to see a bunch of garbage teams, which a lot of these are not. You got a lot of 7-9 win teams in here that end up on Hard Knocks. Again, Detroit was a 3-win team, but the Jets were 7-10. Dallas was 6-10. The Rams were 9-7. Tampa Bay was 9-7. Rams 7-9. Houston 9-7. So they're not all bad teams. So again, my thought was, you're picking all bad teams. Everybody says they're going to go to the playoffs, and then they suck again because they're bad teams. That's what happens. That's really just not exactly the case. The floor for Hard Knocks teams, at least since 2018, has been 7 wins. Now, that has happened 3 times, so it's possible that, the Bears are looking at 7 wins again. But, I mean, that is the floor, with the Cowboys setting the ceiling so far at 12-5. So, again, there may be some nausea there, but at the end of the day, and again, I'm sure there were some people saying some stupid stuff. I struggled to find massive overconfidence in teams that just didn't manifest itself. And especially in the case of Detroit, which I thought for sure would happen, it did not. And part of that is just because the Lions did live up to the hype. I mean, they got to 9-8. That's a pretty solid record. So anyways, I found that interesting. I like to pop off about stuff, and every once in a while, like, I should probably look into that. I've said that like 100 times now about this Hard Knocks thing and all the hype and all the nonsense. I should see if it's actually nonsense. And it turns out, a lot of times the teams are actually pretty good. Maybe not as good as they look on TV, but still. You don't want to go too far in the other direction, I guess, is what the main thought here is. But, I mean, in all seriousness, I am looking forward to it. I some people might get upset because it's a rival. I just want it to be an interesting one. So if it's the Jets, if it's the Packers, if it's the Bears, Lions, Vikings, I mean, it makes it more interesting. I think the Bears would be the most interesting of any of those teams right now. The Lions a little bit less so. I didn't really care about the Lions. Vikings would be marginally interesting, but they don't have a very good team right now outside of being somewhat interested in what JJ's looking like. But, I mean, look, as much as it's nauseating to say, Caleb is the most exciting rookie that got picked up. And, I mean, you might even get excited about this punter. He's supposed to be the greatest punter in human history, and they've got 3 standout wide receivers. You know, DJ Moore is the least exciting of the 3 receivers that they have, you know. Who doesn't want to see Keenan Allen out there seeing what he can do, along with, you know, one of the better receivers to get drafted in a while, you know, just super talented guy. And it's interesting, you know. Plus, let's not forget, it doesn't always end up sunshine and rainbows. I mean, I think the Jets' Hard Knocks made us feel worse about the Jets than anything else. Watching Aaron Rodgers pop off and throw temper tantrums about, you know, the play calling and everything. So we'll see. We'll see how she goes. The Bears will be under a microscope. So plus, supposedly, players hate it. So it's kind of a double win for us because we get to be entertained by watching a team that actually matters. And also, apparently, they're all distracted and pissed and all that, which is great. Anyways, why don't we take our first quick break? We'll come back and I got some more special teams news in this kickoff craze. Again, if you'd like to support the podcast, please feel free to do so at patreon.com/pack_daddy. Or you can hit me up on Venmo, Packernet Podcast. Help me fund our gas station stops going down south. Dude, you can't say no to the kids when they want snacks, because I get it. I'm the same way. Dad, can I get these donuts? Like, yes? Kidding me? I remember being a kid and being like, oh man, should I even ask for that? They're going to say no. I don't say no. Dad doesn't say no. Not on vacation. You kidding me? You don't say no on vacation unless it's a lot of money. But for cheap crap, it scores you a ton of cool dad points. Spend like $5 on like a candy bar. Like, are you serious? I can get 2. I don't care. I'm crazy. Get some Pringles too. Grab me the pizza ones. But anyways, yeah, that adds up. So we'll take a break. We'll be right back. What's going on, U.S. Cellular customers? I've got good news, so don't hit skip, at least not yet. I'm talking about their special customer event, Us Days. What is Us Days? It means exclusive offers just for their customers, just to say thanks, like $1,200 off any phone, plus $300 off any tablet. No, I didn't just misread that. They must really like you. Us Days at U.S. Cellular, exclusive offers just for you, just to say thank you. Right now, U.S. Cellular customers get $1,200 off any phone, plus $300 off any tablet. Terms apply. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
With threats to our nation waiting around every corner, adaptability is more important than ever. When conditions change without notice, quick strategic thinking is crucial. And with obstacles consistently impending, determination is essential in overcoming them. It's this willingness, decisiveness, and resilience that sets Marines apart. With our fighting spirit, we don't just fight battles, we win them. Marines are the constant our nation counts on to fight the unknown. And through adaptable problem solving, we do just that. Learn more at Marines.com.
This episode is supported by FX's Clipped, the scandalous story of the 2014 Clippers owner's racist remarks captured on tape and heard around the world. The series charts the tape's impact on a dysfunctional basketball organization striving to win against their reputation as the most cursed team in the league. Starring Lawrence Fishburne, Jackie Weaver, Cleopatra Coleman, and Ed O'Neill. FX's Clipped, streaming June 4th, only on Hulu.
So we talked a little bit about the New York Jets going out and bringing in a player just to be a kick returner. They talked about how they believe there could be, upwards of 100 kick returns, which would be like 3 times the amount as the highest last year, which was the Green Bay Packers. Then there was this from the special teams coordinator, David Taub of the Kansas City Chiefs.
I like to have somebody that can go back, is able to make a tackle. I mean, Bucker's able to make a tackle, but I really don't want him making tackles all year long, If you watch the XFL, we watched every play. I bet kickers were involved in probably at least 25 to 40% of the tackles. Either trying to make a guy bounce back or making the tackle itself or just missing the tackle. So, we don't want Bucker in that situation, but he will be a kicker. He'll be a guy that we will use in certain situations. He's got a lot of ability to move the ball, whereas those other guys may not be as, apt to doing that. And, we'll use him. He can still kick a touchback if we need it. You're just giving up the ball. If we do kick a touchback out of the back of the end zone, now they're getting it out to 30 instead of the 25. So that 5 yards makes a big difference. I mean, that's another 3% chance that, you're giving the offense against you to score. So,
what's your early evaluation on guys like Justin Reed and
well, Justin can cover. I mean, he can kick, right, which he can do, and then he can go down there and make tackles. He's an extra guy that they're probably not accounting for. They know that guy can go down and tackle, but a guy like Justin is a guy that they have to worry about. You have to get him blocked, and you have to give up blocking somebody else. So, that's the whole thought of that.
Is it something about different kicking styles that might help you out as you're doing this?
It's really, hang time doesn't matter at all now. So hang time is out the door. I mean, you could do it, but doesn't mean anything. But, so now it's about accuracy, seeing what you're getting, how the returners are lined up, and then trying to kick away from them in the corners. But you can't take too much of a risk, because if you hit it out of bounds, now you're giving the ball up at the 40. If you hit it short of the target zone, you're giving the ball to the 40. So, there's a fine line between, pushing the limits and the edges, and then, or just going down and saying, hey, we can cover it. We're going to, give them a ball that they can cover, and then go down there with a kicker that can cover. So,
is there any benefit to touchbacks now at all?
Yeah, there's benefit. If you're trying to get out of a game, you're up. You don't want to give up a possibility of a turnover. Or a big return against you. You just bang it out of the bat. You just say, hey, we're going to give up the 5 yards and give them the ball at the 30, which Bucker can do. Obviously, he can do.
All right, so that was the extent of the video. So that's pretty wild. And, we've been talking for a while now about, how revolutionary and radical this could possibly get. And now we're talking about kickers being relegated to either touchbacks or field goals. Now, granted, not everybody has a guy like Justin Reed, who is a safety that also can kick. But that may become something, especially since, as he said, hang time doesn't really matter anymore or at all in kickoffs, because as before you want to kick it up in the air and let your guys get down the field, now it doesn't even start until the guy touches the ball. So whether you kick a line drive or you kick it up in the air, it doesn't matter. And since you don't want to kick it out of the end zone, accuracy is not really as big of a deal anymore either. He did mention you want to kick it kind of to the corners, which could be kind of tricky, but more or less, if you got a guy that can just kick it down the field straight over the guys in front of you, you've got a pretty big target window you're kicking at. And it is interesting to hear that another one of the differences is that kickers are much more involved in the tackling and whatnot. It used to be a very rare thing, and it means everybody messed up if the kicker got involved. Now he's talking, 40% or whatever. So that is something to take into account for kickers. What do you need in a kicker? There's always going to be field goals, but if all else is equal, maybe a guy with a little bit broader shoulders or something. I don't know. Or do you look at, kind of like special teams ability, where it's like, well, he's a wide receiver, but also he's a potential returner, so that gives him a little bit more value. Imagine if you are a safety or a linebacker, and, oh, by the way, I was a kicker in high school. Okay, good to know, And what does that do to kickers? Who already are devalued, they're already getting paid bottom of the barrel money as far as, other positions go. Now if we have to bring in linebackers to do half your job, I'm just saying. But it's getting pretty weird and wild, and I dig it. I kind of dig it a little bit. Anyways, kind of a big update, and it's really just a big update for my audience, I suppose, because I have massively failed you. As far as the salary cap goes, I've mentioned we have a lot of cap space. We got over $20 million, according to Ken Ingles, $20.59 million. But, when I look at the salary cap, I mean, it makes sense that you want to report what the salary cap is, right? That it makes sense. You're not necessarily projecting forward. But it's kind of a big deal when there's some pretty big changes coming up in the very near future, and we keep pretending there's $20 million there. One of those, for example, would be, let's say in the past you designated somebody as a post-June 1st cut, to save some money in the meantime, kind of spreads it out. And then come June 1st of, the certain year, in this case it would be 2024, that salary cap hit is no longer hitting your contract, or your salary cap, excuse me. What I'm getting at here is, and again, this is provided by Ken Ingles, he says, I got the wrong one, I got a couple Ken Ingles things up here today. He says the Packers have $20.59 million of cap space. That's the part we knew. On Sunday, which would be June 1st, Devondre Campbell's contract falls off, netting $9.66 million. Holy crap. I guess I didn't look close enough to see that Devondre's cap was... I wouldn't even thought about it anyways. I would have assumed we were carrying it all year, but I just don't remember ever having anything like this before where it's like, oh, here's $10 million on June 1st. That's interesting. He goes on to say, when they sign Morgan and Bullard, it will cost $1.97 million. Afterwards, the Packers will have $28.28 million of cap space to cover in-season costs and Jordan Love's pending extension. I've mentioned in the past that teams like to carry around $10 million. I don't know if that's an outdated number or what, but let's just pretend that's the right number. We're essentially looking at $18.28 million in money that we can play with. Now, again, Jordan Love's contract is probably going to take a big portion of that, and I'll get to that in a minute with Ken Ingles' other post. But that is a massive amount of money, and what I love about it is, a lot of people, when you look at money, they think free agency. I look at it and see flexibility. The Packers now can sign the people that they want, and they can structure it in a way that is as beneficial as possible. You don't have to fully backload it. You can, you don't have to. You've got a ton of flexibility here. You don't have to get psychotic. And it's amazing because it was just a year ago, it seemed like we were in this cap hellhole with Aaron Rodgers cap hit and everything else, and we're screwed and we have to cut everybody. 1 year later, we're sitting here with $30 million in flexibility, which is what I'm going to refer to it as. $30 million in flexibility, or call it 20 if you want to deduct the 10-ish. And for the record, yes, that does mean potentially that they could go get somebody, but I don't think that that's the main point here, at least not from my perspective. We've already covered that. There's not a ton of great options out there, unless you want to, talk about trades or whatever, which is a different conversation. But that is a fantastic thing. I think it's a great job by, Russ Ball and everybody. You look at the situation we were in, again, just a year ago, and you realize how, it was bleak, and they carried it. You still had an extremely young team that was able to help you carry it because we don't have a ton of big contracts right now. You still managed to get to the playoffs. 1 year later, you've largely cleaned up the cap. You're sitting with more money than I remember having ever seen at this point in the season, with plenty of money to sign and extend your quarterback and everything else, tons of flexibility. You don't, and part of the flexibility aspect is, again, when you come back to the table with Jordan Love and his agent, or just going to be his agent, but let's say Jordan Love is and his agent, it gives you, it just makes it a lot more likely that a contract gets done. Again, it was always going to get done, but it's a lot more difficult when the team is looking at it going, we have constraints here, we're really stuck, we're limited in what we're able to do. The Packers essentially have no limitations right now. That's an overstatement, but really, as far as what is feasible to begin with, everything's on the table. So again, we get back to how do we want this thing structured? How is it mutually beneficial for the Packers and Jordan Love? Whatever that most beneficial situation is, the Packers can probably accommodate it based on the amount of money that they have. So whatever they want to do with extending this person or whatever. Every option is now on the table. It kind of was before. I mean, 20 is even a decent chunk for the Packers. Going up to 28.28 is wild. Continuing on with I tell you what, why don't we take a break here? It's probably pretty quick after the other break, but I don't know. This might take a little while. Maybe not. I don't care. We'll take a break. We'll come back and expand on this thought here as far as the cap and how that will possibly impact the contract situation with Jordan Love. We'll be right back.
Jewelry isn't a gift you give just once. It's a way to remind your loved one of a beautiful moment every time they see it. Blue Nile can help you find the gift that says how you feel and says it beautifully, with expert guidance and a wide assortment of jewelry of the highest quality at the best price. Go to BlueNile.com and experience the convenience of shopping Blue Nile, the original online jeweler since 1999. That's BlueNile.com to find the perfect jewelry gift for any occasion. BlueNile.com.
Have you ever experienced turbulence on a flight and wondered why?
And you can see all the terrain around you. You've got no issue with visibility or anything?
No, everything's PG.
Maybe you've sat on the tarmac for hours wondering why your plane isn't moving.
Well, we're outside here. They're saying the ramp is closed. They won't let us park because of Air Force One.
Listen in on the conversations between pilots and air traffic controllers on the Air Traffic Out of Control podcast.
510 Whiskey declaring an emergency. There's smoke in the cabin. I need to make a landing right now on 31 left.
We have the most interesting, wild, and funny ATC recordings you will ever hear. Check out Air Traffic Out of Control wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.
So one of the questions that was asked of Ken, based on this post, was from Colin Williams on Twitter's. Says, how do you structure the deal so that Love gets a bunch of cash up front without blowing this year's cap? My understanding is, for example, 4-year, $100 million guarantee translates to $25 million hit per year. Green Bay can't afford even that now, and we expect the deal to be done substantially higher. So before we even get to Ken's answer, there's a lot wrong in the understanding of this. First of all is the misunderstanding between cap and cash. You can give them a ton of money up front without taking a massive cap hit. You just do that through bonuses, which get spread out over the length of the contract. Secondly, $25 million per year. I'm guessing that was just an example, but obviously that's extremely low. And as he says, Green Bay can't even afford that now. They have a ton of money. But again, they're going to give him a ton of cash. The cap hit will not be $25 million per year. Anyways, here's what Ken has to say. He says, Jordan Love's current cap hit is 12.8 with a $10.5 million base salary. I suspect they drop his base to the minimum. So again, that's the other thing you're not accounting for is the cap kind of goes up when you reduce what is currently on the books. He says, I suspect they drop the base to the minimum, pay a $60 million to $80 million signing bonus. That's the thing that gets spread out. Add per game bonuses for 1 year, very manageable, more guarantees in year 2 and 3. This can be done for under $10 million of 2024 additional cap. So let's take a look at a couple scenarios, keeping that in mind. So now he mentions you can get this done for under $10 million of additional cap. So if he's already at, what is he at right now? He says $12.8 million. So he's, $10 million more than that would bring him up to about $23 million. And that's only adding, if we paid him $23 million, we'd only be adding $10 million additional to our cap this year. Here's an example. Let's do a 4-year, because we've speculated, although 5 years is kind of the standard, speculated that maybe 4 years might be in this case. And I did $192 million, which is $58 million per year. Or excuse me, $48 million per year, 192. So 4 years, $192 million. He said signing bonus between $60 and $80 million, so let's call it $70 million spread over the 4 years. If we drop his base salary to the minimum, which I believe is $1.08 million for a 4th-year player, then what you're looking at is the total breakdown, $1.08 million is his base salary. His signing bonus is $17.5 million. Let's say it is a per game bonus $1.4 million. So if he plays all 17 at 82 point, so it's $82,000 per game. So $1.4 million in per game, in cumulative per game bonuses, whatever. The cap hit then for this year would be $19.98 million, which is just about $7 million additional this year. That's just an example. The cap hit from there would go to $37 million, which is still manageable after that in year 2. Year 3, it goes to $47 million, but now you're kind of getting in that realm of renegotiation, right? At this point, let's see. By year 3, so let's say he's a complete bust, and we've tried it out, it's no good. And in fact, actually, with this structure, you could probably technically, I mean, if it's a complete disaster, you could dump him by year 2, but you wouldn't want to. By year 3, right? This is kind of the renegotiation period. You would take a $17.5 million dead cap hit if you moved on from Jordan Love. That's it, $17.5 million. So in reality, this is a 2-year deal, right? It's 2 years, and then by year 3, there's almost no way we're sitting here because the Packers don't want to take a nearly $50 million cap hit, and Jordan would love to get a new top-of-market contract. And even if he doesn't prove to be top of market, but you want to kind of keep clipping along, he's good enough, we're still going to work on an extension, probably even, possibly bring that rate down a little bit, but give you further, you get more guarantees, you get more money in your pocket, we'll give you another 4 or 5 years. But, we either keep the rate the same, which would be lower based on the salary cap and what it would be by 2026, or maybe drop it or something to 45. I don't know. Now, if we did this again, let's say it's a massive contract. Let's say he gets the top. Let's say it's 55. Let's go to the other extreme. One thing to keep in mind is if they do go to 55, which I don't think they will, it'll be a 5-year deal. I see no reason to shorten it unless that's the Packers. They're like, we'll do it, but we want it to be 4, but that puts more strain anyways. If you're going to the top, then you want the long-term deal, and so does Jordan. So we're talking 5 years, $275 million. Even that, the cap hit for 2021, if the base salary is 1.08, signing bonus, let's call it $75 million, but it's spread over 5 years, so that's $15 million, which is less. You keep the per game stuff the same. The cap hit ends up being $17.48 million. It's lower. So, and again, the structure can be whatever, but it's just kind of an example of how this all would come together. And it is important to note, as Ken Ingalls said, he's already on the salary cap for, 12.8, so almost $13 million. So if we pay him $25 million this year, or let's just, for the sake of easy math, call it $23 million, it's only 10 of that $30 million that we have. In reality, if you wanted to spend all additional 20, you could spend $33 million in cap space this year on Jordan Love, which the Packers absolutely will never do that, but just to give you some idea of, again, the amount of flexibility that they have in working out these contracts. Anyways, why don't we wrap up the show on a positive note here. Here is Mike Tannenbaum, who is discussing with Dan Patrick his thoughts on quarterbacks. Let's phrase it that way.
If I said you can have Jordan Love for the next 5 years or Trevor Lawrence the next 5 years.
Well, that's easy for me. It's Jordan Love. I'll put it to you this way, Dan.
That's easy. That's not easy.
It's easy. Dan, if we were drafting NFL players, I think you and I would agree we'd take Patrick Mahomes number 1. I'm taking Jordan Love number 2. I've really been thinking about this a lot. Like, who would you take before Jordan Love in terms of youth, ability, and I think his future is limitless. And while I think Trevor Lawrence has ability, at some point, this is the old Belichick, like, you should show greatness. And I think what we've seen with Trevor Lawrence is he shown being good, B+, but we've seen Jordan Love in 1 year show greatness. He was arguably, over the last half of the season, arguably the best quarterback in the NFL.
So if we're having a quarterback draft, you're taking Mahomes, and then you're taking Jordan Love.
100%, and I'm not even thinking about it. You could have anybody else, but you give me Jordan Love, I'm set for the next decade. High character, great ability, been fully baked and developed, and I'm not looking back. And by the way, that team is loaded with young skill players. I'm hard-pressed to think that they're not going to be right back where they were a year ago, deep in the NFC playoffs.
Look at you. Mike Greenberg's probably crying right now because you're saying this on my show and not on Get Up or First Take with Stephen A. ESPN's going to go, hey, Mike T, easy there. Save the hot stuff for our shows.
We'll get to that once the NBA finals are over, I'm sure.
Look, and there's another clip. I think I'll save it for tomorrow, but there's another clip that's similar, talking about how loaded the Packers are, and you can agree or disagree to some degree. I don't know that Jordan Love is the second best quarterback. I mean, honestly, I don't want to get into the whole Pat Mahomes thing. I don't think, whatever, it doesn't matter. Where Jordan Love ranks is certainly debatable, but the crazy thing to me is this conversation really isn't had, and it's on the outside. I saw, again, 2 clips today, and they're probably the first 2 clips I've seen that essentially had this mentality outside of Packers content creators and, Packers players, coaches, whatever. This is just not a standard thing. It's the Packers are okay. They have okay this, okay that. I mean, that's a tough thing to conclude, in my opinion. I mean, in year 1, they got to the playoffs and beat the Dallas Cowboys and should have beat the 49ers, right? And I'm not putting a lot of weight on the shoulda. I'm just stating a fact here. That was widely accepted. The Packers were just a better football team in that game. Didn't matter on the scoreboard, but they were. But you don't hear this conversation. It's a question of, should we put Jordan Love in the top 10 or not, or in the top 15 or not? Do we think the Packers will go back to the playoffs, or will they regress? It's not a question of, nobody's really leaning into this going, are you kidding me? Dude, they have Jordan Love, who showed that he can be the best quarterback in football. He had that ability. In his first year, after everything kind of clicked, he was arguably the best quarterback in football. It wasn't Mahomes. I know that for a fact. It's a question of, was it Jordan or Purdy? You could try to throw Dak in there if you want, but it had nothing to do with Mahomes or Allen or whoever. You just look at the comments section. It's not like it's loaded with Bears fans. It's everybody. Like, what are you talking about? They don't realize it. They don't recognize it. And I understand not every football fan watches, it's my issue with C.J. Stroud. I was thinking about it. I'm like, well, do you think he's actually better than C.J. Stroud? And honestly, it comes down to, you'd have to watch the guys. It's a question of, would you take Brock Purdy or Jordan Love? I would take Jordan Love because I think he has more ability. You don't see Brock Purdy do the kind of stuff that you see Jordan Love do. C.J. Stroud, I don't know. I didn't watch a ton of C.J. Stroud. I didn't watch every Texans game. It's not all that massively interesting to me outside of the general storyline of, oh man, he's pretty good. That's crazy. I don't know if he was making the kinds of throws and reads and reacts and all the crazy nonsense that Jordan Love did for, not even just the second half of the year. Remember, the first half of the year, it was a really weird thing because he was terrible for the first half and then lit up teams in the second half. So there weren't too many games where you didn't see elite Jordan Love. That's also important to keep in mind. He just had a hard time kind of getting off the ground there. It was a little shaky for 2 quarters. And then he became just godlike. And I understand a lot of Packer fans are like, good, I like being the underdog and all that. I'm just making an observation. There's a lot of thoughts out there. There's a lot of opinions, and very few people seem to be just even looking at the Packers roster and standing back for a second and going, they're kind of freaking jacked, dude. I'm just saying. And I have to assume it's because there's, people don't view Jordan Love as a superstar, and they look at the wide receivers and they don't see a superstar, and they look at the running backs and, because we have the attention span of a goldfish, assume there's no. I saw even somebody talked about the Packers roster being mid, and they're like, you got a washed up running back. Like, bro, what? He's 25 years old. What do you mean washed up, you dummy? But whatever. It is what it is. Anyways, I'm going to get out of here. You guys have a good rest of your day, night, whatever. Have a good one. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.